One fateful morning, I sat down with my coffee and Discord like I always do, and there was a notification from Vimlark asking me to join a private jam that he was hosting. And I very smoothly said, yeah, no problem, man. And then I went to the washroom and screamed like a fangirl. The jam was between me and 3 other devs, ButWhyLevin, Yannick, and SidFishGames, who I knew for a fact were much more experienced than I was. So I saw this as an opportunity to rise up and show what I was really made of, you know? No more fun in games. Whatever the saying is, I was going to take this seriously. We all popped into Discord together, and were greeted by this video.
Welcome contestants to Ready Set Jam. I hope you're as excited as I am. This first round is the classic game round, where you will recreate or reinterpret a classic game in your style with a twist. And the classic game you'll be basing yours off of is Asteroids, with the twist of can't stop moving. You now have 48 hours, not consecutive, over the next 2 weeks to create and submit your game. Best of luck, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
So I had 48 hours to make a game in 2 weeks. But before we get into that, my name is Helper Wesley. I make games and fortnightly videos. So I had to make Asteroids, but...
In your style? In your style?
And I didn't exactly know what that meant. I've made a bunch of games, and they all kind of seemed different in one way or another. But 2 games that were pretty similar to each other at the time were Subway Hell and Atomic Trail. Both of them were pseudo-horror games set in a post-apocalypse where sunlight can't get to the Earth anymore. So I decided to go for something with that style. To follow the instructions, I had to make Asteroids, but with the twist of can't stop moving. I knew that the other people were all going to do some variation of your standard Asteroids controls, where your character would just move. So I wanted to do something different, and fake that the ship is moving in a direction constantly, so that way your character is fixed in the center of the screen and everything around you is moving. I also decided to turn Asteroids into a ship game, so instead of asteroids you're dealing with icebergs. And this is partly because I'm a marine engineer, and for part of my job I lived on boats. And there was one evening where the entire ocean went still, and a fog rolled in, and you couldn't see more than a meter away from the ship. And it was the most terrifying thing I think I've ever gone through. Your brain does a lot of weird things to you when you can't see. So since the ship was going to be stationary, the thing that you control in this game were the turrets, which you would use to shoot the icebergs to keep them away from the ship. Along with that, I gave the player the ability to, on a cooldown, grab one of the turrets and angle it towards the mouse. And after getting to this point, I realized that I should actually play Asteroids to get a better idea of what I should be doing. And I ended up just straight up ripping off the scoring system and the lives, and of course the asteroids. The trickiest thing being that I couldn't just spawn the asteroids wherever I wanted to. I couldn't just spawn the icebergs wherever I wanted to, because the player wasn't able to move out of the way. It created this situation where I needed to guide the icebergs. So what I ended up doing was putting a bunch of spawn points around the outside of the screen, and when an iceberg spawned in at one of those points, it would aim towards the ship within a randomized angle. So some of these icebergs would be going straight for the ship, and then some of them would be going off in certain directions, which would give the player agency over which ones they should shoot and which ones they shouldn't, because the turrets move so slowly that they aren't able to attack all of them. So if you had 2 icebergs coming towards you, you would have to make the decision on which one to shoot. And once I finished that, I created a main menu and a fail state, and packaged the game up for itch. I wanted to do this as fast as possible because it's one thing to not release a game for a game jam, where there's hundreds of people. It's a little bit different if you're not finishing a game between 4 people for an event that's going to end up on YouTube. So I wanted to get that done ASAP. And it was at this point that I started talking to SidFish. I knew SidFish back from the first Vim Jam I was in, where they won second place out of over 450 games. And then they participated in the Fireside Jam, where they also came in second place. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great to put them in second place again? The next mechanic I wanted to add to the game was one that gave the points a purpose. High scores didn't really make any sense past the arcade era, so I wanted to turn the score into something that people would actually use. And so I implemented a shop system where you would spend the points that you earned to get faster fire rates and more turrets. I had lots of time left over, so I decided to add in a big bad boss. After all, what's a horror game, movie, story if there's nothing out there that can actually get you? And since this is the ocean, I decided to make a giant octopus. So I went for this squishy, round-headed sea creature thing, and did all that I could to make sure that the popping in and out of the water looked as good as it could be. As I was giving the boss health, I kind of on the fly decided that the game was going to be a wave-based game, where every time that you beat the boss, it would go away for a time and then come back stronger. And not only that, you would also get more icebergs. You would also get more icebergs as the waves increased. And from here, I just straight up stole a mechanic from Risk of Rain. Their difficulty slider bar that basically goes on forever, I remade in my game, making it so that as the waves go up and they get more difficult, the text telling you which difficulty setting you're on would get scarier and scarier looking. And here's where I tried my damnedest to make music, until eventually I gave in to the fact that I'm not a musician, and decided that I would just get away with ambient noise. I grabbed a couple of 2 liters half full of water and swirled them around next to the microphone, and then I Paul stretched those to infinity until they started to give me something that sounded like ambient noise. I also added a couple of pin drop sound effects and wind that made it sound like this. I decided to use what was left of my time to balance the game and polish things up. So I went to our Discord, and I reached out to people that I knew weren't going to blab the secret, and I asked them to record how long it took them to play the game, and give me their feedback. And while they were doing that, I went through and polished up sound effects and art, and did my best to fix the angle of things because I decided to pick a weird top-down-ish angle for all of the art for some reason. And then the playtesters came back, and after subtracting all of the time that they spent playtesting the game, I had 4 hours left. So I had to pull triage and basically cross-reference each person's feedback and pick the things that everybody agreed on. And those were to add a tutorial to the game, improve the readability of the UI, and of course, game balance was a big issue. And that was it. I was left with Icebergs. A game that did what it set out to do, but one that also left me with a list of things that I wanted to get finished. So thankfully, Vimlark played this game on stream, and I was able to grab a couple clips to show you.
Do I have money? Let's upgrade that. Oh god, it doesn't pause when you're in here. It doesn't pause when... No, I'm facing the wrong way now. It doesn't pause when you're in the menu. It doesn't pause when you're in the menu. So this opening section, the one thing I can say is it's a little long. Again, I do still think this part's a bit slow. So the only thing I can say is the start is real slow. Real slow. Cool. My one biggest thing here is the game is really slow. It's very slow paced.
But now for the results. Did I make it to the next round? Well, yes. Yes, I did. I actually came in second place out of the 4. Which means I don't get the joy of picking the theme for next round. That honor goes to SidFish. So we said goodbye to ButWhyLevin, and you'll get to see what happens in round 2 and 3 in the next video. I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and a huge thank you to my patrons. Because of them, my coffee cup is full. As always, The links to the cool places that I hang out are down below. And if you decide to click on one, then I'll see you there.